Oh my God, I was there the whole time. I think
All
it's
right.
just because you're
It's
a host now.
recording.
Well, we luckily stumbled on record, and now we're recording our first TNT in quite some time, and we're going to make this awkwardly close because I have Coach Janice Perry next to me, and we're here with Adrian. And we haven't spoken quite some time, but I think we randomly decided on a topic last week because I've seen Adrian make some posts that I can really resonates with me, you know, as far as, you know, people nowadays seem to, they're like, just give me what I can do to get as ripped as possible, as quick as possible, and I don't care what else. And I think we're all in agreement that we are trying to play the long game here. And we're trying to make something sustainable, not only sustainable, but create a new behavior around eating that's healthy for you, you know, and you're also going to get ripped too in the process. But we're going to make this kind of healthy. Is that kind of what you've been talking about lately? I've seen a lot of stuff that you've been putting out about, you know, you could fry people's adrenals, and I think I've done that a bunch of times.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, as nutrition coaches, I think we have a responsibility to what the client wants and then what they need. And that's always a fine line. I think that we all struggle with, right? Because we want to push them, we want to get them to where they want to get to, but there's a cost benefit to like every decision we make. And I've been just really sitting and thinking a lot about that cost benefit decision. And I have to like really remove myself a lot out of the equation, which is really hard to go against even my own biases, right? And trying to be like, what is the absolute best move for them based on what I know, what I don't know. But yeah, the end objective is definitely long-term sustainability and not, you know, trashing someone in the process. Because sure, we can all get someone where they need to get to in 12 weeks. But it's like, am I going to put gasoline in a Lamborghini and just drive it and fuck it with no brakes? Because I feel like that's what a lot of coaches do. Or am I going to actually teach them how to drive?
Yeah, you know what's funny? What I'm seeing is there may have been a lot of clients that we're dealing with now, and ones that I see that really need a nutrition coach have done those like 8 to 12 week get really ripped things, and what they'll do is later, like in the year, like 2 years later, they'll try it again, and it just won't work.
Mm-hmm.
It just won't work, and you know, it's like they're burning the candle at both ends too, because they're continuously just trying it, and they're trying harder and harder. And most of the time it's restrictive in nature, you know, and they just get super frustrated and can't realize why they can't do it again. I mean, a lot of times because your physiology changed, dude. You're different now. You're different.
Beyond without a doubt. You could just parallel this with CrossFit and it'll make the most amount of sense. So when you first get someone in the gym, they're just, the first 8 months of anything is a neurological adaptation, just getting the bar overhead, not using your lats, not bracing the core, not putting it into, you know, spinal alignment. You're going to get gains from neurological adaptation. So most people that enter an 8-week cycle or whatever, neurological adaptation is going to happen. But then what happens when that neurological adaptation happens? Physiology comes in either way. So I'm trying, you know, and I think that's like what people are now finally realizing, that like you can't crush yourself for 8 weeks and then expect any sort of long-term gains. If anything, I think that's like unless you come at unless Janice is coming in this super high level, needs like 3 things tweaked, which is pretty much what I did over 8 weeks, 3 things, like really just getting some workout, nutrition, hydration, organizing a couple high molecular weight carbs. Right. But like, you know, I don't think it's beneficial anymore to keep doing that. And plus, like how you entered that first 90-day, well, now you have a totally different lifestyle. The lifestyle stress adaptations have changed. You know, family demands, work demands, career demands, all those demands. Like we only have 1 cup of where all the stress comes from. So like the stress profile changes is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think that's like what is really happening. Like if I go back 2 years and redid keto where I am now, I'd probably die. I'm not even kidding. Just based on like where my metabolism is and like all that, like I'm just not built for it, you know?
There's no way I would be able to do that, which we already saw when we restricted carbs on me to a level that wasn't even considered close to keto. I was having such terrible time.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't imagine trying to pull back on that completely, you know?
But you don't realize what terrible is until you actually feel healthy. I think that's the biggest part where at least I've very come to terms with in the past 30 days is I don't think anyone has a concept of what healthy feels like. We're
Right.
so disconnected from health of what that purity of that word means that people are like, it's normal to pee every 2 hours. That's a normal thing for a human. Like you
Right.
should be peeing every 2 hours. People are like, I'm peeing every 2 hours. I'm like, you are a human. You should pee.
Yeah.
But they're hydrated. They have no, like, it's just like these simple things. I'm like, that's like a normal health response.
But you're
right?
just so, yep.
So like,
I had a client that we just started this week, and he's like, I peed 8 times during the day today. I'm like, yeah.
every 2 hours at least, like that's a normal functioning bladder. People are like, oh, I pee like twice. I'm like, what? Or like they poop once every 3 days. I'm like, we are so far removed. So I think like where I've really started to think in depth is being between what is doable and optimal. And I think this is like meeting them exactly where they are, which is doable, and then taking them along this long-term health train to like optimal, right? And like understanding what is doable for Matt today based on having 3 kids, just moving, like what can you do today?
Right.
And not being like super romantic about 2 years ago, we were training for the CrossFit Games. You know what I'm saying? We're like doing cryo every day and you have this whole entire outline. Like to duplicate that again now?
Yeah.
Sure. Is it possible? Probably not right now because the lifestyle stress to me is too high.
What you said there that's key is meeting them where they're at. What I have found is people don't realize where they're at. So people think that they are more advanced than they actually are. So, and also the lack of patience that people have sometimes, because their life, everything is go, 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 do. So they come to you with that, oh, like I'm already educated. Like I've had my clients being like, yeah, I'm already educated. So, and I'm like, yeah, but we're still starting you here. And then we find out after 1 week what they thought they were educated on. They're educated on, I have one client who's educated on using MyFitnessPal. So he's educated on weighing and measuring his food and putting it into a tool that helps him keep track of it, but he's not educated on what each one of those macronutrients does for his body. Right. And feeling those at each time so that he can say when he's had a day that's off, hey, you know what? Looking back, I didn't hit my protein, or looking back, like I didn't hydrate, or, checking those boxes. It's like they want everything delivered on a silver platter.
Right.
Saying like, okay, this is going to get you there. Now I have another client who I kind of went in even slow, but the change in her body for the goals that she wants is very overwhelming to her. So then what did she do? She went back into a bad habit, pulled back on everything, and she's back to almost square one. Now she's better eating habits. So I say, hey, listen, the wins are that we've introduced some more whole foods. You're eating more than you were before we started. You're getting better habits. However, you wanted to gain muscle mass. You were underweight. We put a little bit of weight on with muscle mass, but it scared the shit out of her. You know what I mean? So it's also like the goals you think you want may not actually be the goals that you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like clearly identifying that. And I think people, like I said, they're so disconnected from health. And I think what I've seen the most in the CrossFit community is that, people, they wake up and their stress bucket's already filled. It's already up to here, in the morning, most people are like typically over caffeinated, and then there's job stress, and then the kids are running around, and then there's like 8,000 things happening. So when I show up for CrossFit, I'm just going to die because I only have 1 hour. So just kill me. Right. And you guys understand this, where you probably spend more time pulling back and be like, yo, man, like we got to pull you back. Like, let's bring it. Like, you don't have to PR day. Like, it's almost right now in coaching, I'm feeling more of a pull back. Like I've got to like pull the reins down. Like, hey, listen, we got to just start like here, where it's like, we can't take that. And then, you're underfed, underhydrated, overstressed. And now let's go right into a wall and then not talk about post-workout nutrition, like, cutting off that cortisol, right at the helm because, your cortisol is already through the roof. But like, that's almost like that community is, in my opinion, is almost a little harder to work with because you have to like take the brain and like jam it down. Like, yo, man, you can't come in here. And that's where, like, I think you guys have a way better advantage where I do, because you're in there with them and you can dial them back while, like, you know, working on their nutrition or whatever, you know. But it's one of the things I struggle with is telling my clients that when they're going to train, like, to pull it back that day, because I'm not there. If they feel good, especially when you feel good, you want to go. But I'm like, you know, it's just not about Tuesday. It's about next Tuesday and the 7 Tuesdays after that we're looking at.
Yeah.
Like, do you guys see that more? Like, people coming in, they just want to go ham, or like?
I think the person that the person that looks for CrossFit as a tool to get them into shape is probably the best candidate due to their previous or prior history of stress to get hurt. They are, because they're already they're type A individuals. They think harder is better, right? And more is more. They already have the mindset coming in, and those people, like, it's funny because, like, you'll get someone that maybe tweaks their back during a deadlift, and you know what my thing is? It wasn't the deadlift. It wasn't the deadlift. It was like, that was the shot of tequila that got you drunk after the 30 beers you had, right? Like, those 30 beers represent how do you wake up in the morning? Like, you know what I mean? How is your hydration? How is your stress? Like, and if you're doing CrossFit, you're a certain personality. Now, not everyone's like that, but that's what we see. And it's a battle for us. Like, we have to have some hard conversations with people and be like, yo, chill out. Here's what you're doing today. Like, you need to understand that this is just a workout. We're here to get fit. We are not here because we want to do either. We're not even here to do better than you did yesterday or better than that person did the other day. You're here to keep on moving as long as possible and as many days as possible. And
without
you can't
injury.
do that. You can't do that if you don't dial it back. And it's tough. It's really, really tough in here. It's tough in here in a group setting, but we take a pretty strong hold on it. And I think it comes back to also what a lot of CrossFits are doing with their image. You know, and, you know, I've noticed a lot of images have changed, and you actually alluded to that. You know, everyone's talking about health now, and I thought we were like one of the only CrossFits around here doing it, and now I'm starting to see the trend. A lot of people aren't posting PR snatches on their Instagram anymore. They don't want that to be their brand. You know, they're not really posting like people doing like an obnoxious amount of kipping pull-ups. That used to be the norm. That used to be the norm. That was the brand. That was the CrossFit brand that everyone was looking at each CrossFit gym the same way. I believe it's different now. At least we're trying to make our brand different. So because I don't want to be part of that noise anymore.
Yeah, and I think it would be the wisest thing to do moving forward is that I think people have, I don't care what anyone, I mean, I just see trends and I've got a gift for it, and I see it as health. And people are going to see that, like, fitness is a component. It's just a small component. So the gyms that are going to stay heel dug in for fitness, I think they're going to be really shooting themselves in the foot, because I think we are in the new normal. It is this way. This is it. So, like, if you can get on board with, like, hey, if you're coming in here, this isn't all kind of one-stop shop where, like, your membership is longevity. Right? Like, you don't really have to sell anybody on a 3, 6, 12-month program, because they're kind of just camping out forever. Right. And that's how, in my opinion, it should be like that. Like, it's a health club. Like, you own a health club. Like, that's what you do. And I think that I'm happy that it shifted that way. You know, I'm really interested to see what it looks like in a couple years. But that aside, I think people are coming in now, like, not wanting to PR. They're like, I just want to, like, not be in pain and feel like crap. That's like literally like where most people are right now coming to me. Was like, I had these 2 kind of tiers. I had Athlete RX, which is like my athletes, and then like Gen Pop. Where like Gen Pop, the goals have gone the entry to barrier is like, I just don't want to feel like shit when I wake up. Like, that's the goal. It's not even like lose 20 pounds. I want to like sleep. It's like, I just don't want to feel like this anymore. And I think what people are saying, this is their current state of health. We're like, they don't even know what to do anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I think like shifting that even as a coach to not the body image and to feeling and performing well is huge. And that's kind of like what I try to like put across. We're like, the habits, how are they, like, are you waking up in the morning with a little bit more energy? Do you feel like you need less coffee? How are you feeling at the end of the day? Things like that. And when I say performance, I don't necessarily mean performing in the gym and hitting PRs. Performing in your daily day.
All day, exactly. Like all
like
day
2 o'clock
energy is performance.
Yeah, like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Are you still getting those crashes? Or do you feel like you don't need a nap? You know, do you feel like you're able to go to bed a little bit earlier with like a little like more relief? Those are the things that really measure. And those are the things, when you focus on those things, the other things follow along.
Yep. I've always said like weight loss is a byproduct of good health. It like has to happen. Like it has to happen, like calorically, whatever. Like it will happen. You know, it's just like, and that's just the byproduct. It like has to happen. That's the thing. If you stack up all these habits, routines, behaviors, that's gonna happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I think that's like I think it's something that I think it's going to do this in it's going to take a decade, in my opinion, to push it in that direction. I'm glad we've already like leaned all the way over here now. You know, like everyone was like bullying each other about deadlifts, and now everybody's like, I just want to feel better, you know? So I'm kind of like happy we've all like gone.
I just want to make it in the gym. Like I look at it now, like I just want to be able to say, hey, like I feel good enough to train today.
Yeah, exactly.
That for me is a win. Like I wasn't feeling great yesterday. I came in to train and I modified the shit out of the workout. And energy wise, I felt good, but my body wasn't feeling good. And I was like, all right, I'm like happy with that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's nice to feel that way too. There's no pressure.
Yeah. You can pull off the gas pedal.
We used to have, we still have it. We had a logging system so people can log their workouts, their scores, and some of the conditioning workouts and stuff like that. And it was a big part of the app we use and our membership management software. And we pay a lot of money for it. And no one really uses it anymore. We stopped talking about it. When we came back from the quarantine, we absolutely stopped talking about it. Yeah. And it was the best thing that happened for our gym.
Yeah.
That's great.
It was the best thing that happened for our gym is that everyone, I would say 80 to 90% of the people are coming in here because they want to get a workout in. They believe in the health stuff that we're preaching because we like, it's taken us a long time to move in that direction. I admit it. Like we weren't always in that direction. We were not. I was not. And we are now. And now we're all in on it. And I think our clientele appreciates it more. I think we've really resonated personally with a lot of people, and you can tell they appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, you know? I think it's a lot too, because like when you walk into a gym, at least I'm taking this from just a regular person. So if I'm walking into a gym and I see the owners and the coaches and they're ripped and they're jacked, I'm just assuming that they're like, they eat out of Tupperwares, they probably don't drink, they probably don't like, so I think when you just are open as shit with everybody, like, hey, I do this, like sometimes I, modify my workouts, or like, there's days where I don't feel 100%, but I'm still going to do something. So then you're like relatable. And then that's more of a buy-in. It's like, oh, they're like us. Like, sure, you have to be a leader for sure. And you have to rise above and be like exemplary. But at the same time, it's like, I think it's really important to communicate to your clients those things as well, so they feel like normal.
Well, you got to be able to relate, right? That's what gets people to trust you. If you can't relate, it's even like as a business owner, if I didn't coach group sessions, I couldn't relate to my coach's problems coaching group sessions. No. I couldn't relate. No. If I don't take the actual classes, I know they make fun of me now, but if I don't take the actual classes once a month, is what they think I do, is just once a month, then I can't relate to the athletes either. I can't relate to their experience, And if you don't eat like shit a little bit and sometimes fall off your healthy habits, you don't know what the right behavior protocol, what tactic it is to get them back on track. Because we're all human, right? We're all human. And we're doing the best, and we're doing the best that we can, and our jobs as nutrition coaches or health coaches, probably the better term, is keep on tinkering and keep figuring out how to push the needle.
Yeah.
And don't stop learning.
That's pretty much it. And I think the more you open yourself to other people's ideas and like, hey, what's working there and what's not working, and then constantly like, looking at your own shit and being like, where am I vulnerable in my coaching practice, Right. And that's like something that I take very seriously. Like I love being critiqued. And I love when people look at my stuff and be like, this is where you're not good at. Like, I'll either hire somebody or whatever. But you know how that goes. It's like with everything. That's why you hire a coach. That's why people hire us. Where they're like, this is kind of too hard for me to figure out. I really need someone to just kind of walk me through this.
Yeah.
Right. And I think like a lot of people right now are willing to do that because they see, as of right now, I mean, it couldn't have shined a better spotlight on it, that like if your state of health is higher, I'm just talking about basic stuff, cardiovascular disease, still all-cause mortality, still probably will forever be. Just getting your basic blood profile in check, hydration, like those things already puts you up here to preventative diseases and illnesses, which is literally like the statement of health is mental something well-being and preventing sickness and disease.
Yep.
Well, that's like what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's really important to kind of look at that and be like, am I doing that as a coach? Like, am I preventing disease and illness for my clients? Like, am I making sure that I have good well-being in the mental and emotional, you know, check boxes too? You know, so we do have these like massive jobs, you know, big time. I think we're like a third party to like doctors in like a tier, you know? So like, I think that we have a pretty big responsibility. And as you said, like if we just remember what our jobs are and to continue to do them well and like constantly evolve, I think we can just serve our clients so much better than being that guy that's stuck in his, you know, guy, girl, whatever, stuck in their ways like 6 years ago. Like that's, you know, there's going to be a very interesting divide right now where it's going to go like this. It's going to be a very large gap, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too, but it's better for the industry because the stronger the fitness industry's message is about health, the closer we get to working more closely with the medical community. And when that actually happens, we're going to be able to actually make a change because there's a big gap between us and the medical community.
For sure.
There's a big gap, you know, as far as health. There's a big gap and there's a big misunderstanding. And it's not good for either one of us because I would love to refer to another practitioner that I thought was, you know, good in that field. And I would like them to do the same thing for me. But that opportunity is not really there yet for a lot of people because I think that doctors and people in the medical field think some type of way about fitness professionals and that they're not health focused, right? Because we weren't. A lot of us weren't. And I think,
our schooling.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of things. And I think us as fitness professionals, our general consensus thought about the medical profession is that they overprescribe. Right? How do we change that? Because the message has got to be so big. Like, you know, talk about playing the long game. Like, that's what's better for the world, you know, as far as getting healthy. We need to bridge that gap.
So, like, actually move the needle. Because here's the thing. It gets worse. The projections, when I originally read the 2020 projections, I was in grad school, the WHO, CDC, it was 2017. I was, like, floored. I was like, holy. Like, I was looking at the numbers. I was like, this can't be right. Now we're here. And now I'm looking at the new stuff in the formulas. I'm like, you know, every diet, exercise, like, how are we not literally, we're getting significantly worse.
Yeah.
We're by the like day. Like, so it's like, you know, there's definitely bigger forces at play, in my opinion, for that. Because there's like, you know, I mean, not to go into multiple different facades, but, you know, big pharma has a big wedge in there, unfortunately. But also a lot of doctors don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. So it's like, I think that there's a merging that'll definitely happen at some point if we stop having pissing contests with each other. Like, I know more than you in this. Like, dude, I went to school for 5 years. Like, I don't know that much. You know, like, I really don't. I try to work with the doctor, or like I need a, you know, doctor's script, or try to call them. Like, I try to do whatever I can to literally like work with one if they're willing to do that with me. And some really are open to it, you know?
Do you know, I almost think that like a functional medicine specialist, doctor that doesn't, you know, prescribe medication, should almost be that person that bridges the gap and be like, at every medical practice, there should be a functional medicine specialist. Because
I would love that.
What I'm finding, I have a lot of clients that stress levels are like through the fucking roof, and they're already prescribed a shit ton of fucking meds. All right.
Yeah.
So like you're already on Zoloft, you're already on Xanax. You have Klonopin for like the days that you're really fucked, right?
Way
so
crazy.
All of those medication and your visceral fat's at a fucking 20, and you have no muscle.
That's
and
awful.
So now we're trying to like move the needle in some certain ways, and you're on these medications that inhibit the ability for, first of all, for you to even move the needle.
You can't.
And I give you and when we do the stress assessment, your numbers are fucking shitty. So now we have to look at like adaptation, some things that we can put in there, but now I need to know, like, I'm not a doctor. What's going to interfere with
right?
Those
like
medications?
that's yeah. Like, are you looking up contraindication, stuff like that? And the thing is, like, I mean, the first suggestion is to start weaning down off that stuff, because all antidepressants were only designed to work for 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, just to bridge a physiological.
I had people on them for years.
And that's the problem. Like, it was always supposed to cause, like, obviously some trauma happens, whatever. There's a chemical disturbance in the brain, so it sends enough to get you up and running. But after 8 weeks, you are supposed to come off of those antidepressants. What people do, they stay on them. So the chemical, like, there's not been long-term research on antidepressants that are 20 and 30 years long, because they popped them out and started over-prescribing them in like probably the 80s. And it really caught up recently. So like, we have these cases of people that are completely flipped upside down with hormones, you know, going into hormetic environment, gut health. I mean, it's just, antidepressants crush the gut. And the thing is, it takes a long time. You know, my ex was on a lot of antidepressants, and it took a year working with the doctor to literally level them down. A year with one. Right. There was two. It took 2 years of slowly coming down and replacing diet. I sent her to a functional medicine doctor to fill the other gaps in. Yeah. Right. But it was like a 2-year process with me living, having, you know, monitoring diet and exercise and all that stuff. And then also a formal doctor for supplementation and a doctor. And it took 2 years. So if you're really willing to go in on it and not cause a big, you know, then after that was done, she lost 60 pounds. Like, it fell off because that stuff was all in a row. But it was like she was trying so hard over and over and over again, and just kept running into walls because she was on 2 different antidepressants, and they were just crushing her hormones and fatigue and weight gain. And after she came off of them, she got healthy. I mean, she was able to build muscle. You know, like I said, she dropped 60 pounds real fast in like 6 months. Because, I mean, there just wasn't a break on her anymore. She could kind of just go. So it's really hard when you're working for people. You do an intake and you see that they're on antidepressants. Be like, this isn't going to be easy.
Yeah. And I mean, I also have, and they're females who like are perimenopausal. And what I find is that a lot of the prescriptions are like for a set antidepressant. And then a second one is like, oh, this is the temporary one. So they're on all the time. And then they're cycling the other one based off of needs.
That's awful. So, you don't even know what you're feeling at that point.
Nope.
Right. So I mean, and then I'm like, I can't even imagine the frustration that they're going through, or they've gone through, with doing the things that everybody else is doing and seeing results. But also, like, our hands are kind of tied, because I'm like, all right, so I'm going to reach out to my functional medicine specialist to get information. And then we need to give that information to you. So then we need to get it to your doctor. And then we need to see, like, what is your doc, like, is your doctor willing to work on this? If they're not, like, I can't tell you to take that.
Yeah, and it's tough, because no matter what, it doesn't matter if someone was in their peak. If they're an 18-year-old male with good testosterone and they're on Xanax, it's going to be tough to get them to drop body fat. And so just because you literally have something that's telling you to stop.
Yeah.
It's like, we don't want to do any of that. We've got to, like, keep this calm and copacetic, you know? So, like, it's real. And that's what I say. Well, like, I get people, sometimes I can't take them on, and it's like the worst thing in the world, but I know I'm going to frustrate them, because I tell them, like, unless you can probably wean your dose down in a couple months, can we come back and revisit and talk to me in like 6 months time, go over it with your doctor, see if it's a possibility. Cause I'm not going to help you do that. Number 2, it's not my job in my job description, but I don't want to frustrate someone. And do you know how many people I get that are on antidepressants? I have to turn down like 50% of intake forms.
So do you just automatically turn them down?
It depends. It really, really depends if they're willing to, throughout the program, really think about it in time. But if they're on, and if it's low, if it's very low dose of certain things, I will accept them. But if they're on very high doses of 2 antidepressants, it's a nightmare for me. It doesn't matter what I do, whatever tactic, strategy, physiology change, I can make them do cold showers, sunlight, everything to do that. It's a chemical thing. I can't play with that.
Yeah.
So
I'll report back to you in 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's important that that person also understands. I mean, change behavior is the focus. They may be frustrated, and in turn, you may be frustrated on the lack of actual data that supports them actually getting healthier.
Right.
You know what I mean? We may lack there, but I mean, healthy habits. I mean, the whole point of this talk, like, healthy habits are healthy habits. Like, there's some foundational stuff that people should be doing. I mean, sometimes it's worth to even go through that, but we know that everyone kind of wants to look different, and that's the problem.
Yes,
that's the problem.
100%. Like, if I get them and they're like, I just want to sleep better, you know, if they don't care about the actual weight, they just want habits, and they're on a couple antidepressants, sure thing, I'm going to do my job. But if they're like, I want to lose 30 pounds by the end of my 12 weeks, I'm like, we're not on the same page. Like, you might maybe lose 6, maybe. But I mean, I'm going to clean up your sleep. All these other things will happen. But that is just, it's like running uphill with a, you know, like a 50-pound thing on, with just hard. It's a hard battle to go through.
I mean, we probably need to have a separate talk on that, because I also find that profile individual also will lump on additional exercise because they think that's the answer. And it's actually doing more harm than good. And they don't get it, because what they're chasing is that endorphin high. Right? It's a drug. It's all chemical responses, and it's a shame, but it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah. Stress adaptation.
Yeah.
Over and over again.
Well, we should probably have a talk, because that's a great topic. But we'll end this one for today.
Yeah, it was a good one. Health habits.
It was awesome. I had a great time, and I know we did it on the phone, so hopefully this one uploads.
This one upload.
It was a good one. I know I'm definitely recording here. But all right, well, till next time.
Week.
Hope everyone enjoys. Talk to everyone.
All right,
later.
man. Yeah.
All right. See you
Bye, guys.